BSM Live starts soon. BSM Live starts soon. BSM Live starts soon. This is a presentation of Blakesley Sports Media. Welcome to BSM Live. Here's your host, Stephen Blakesley.
Good to see everybody here on the program. We have a lot of cool things to talk about today. We're going to be talking about all the exciting activity down in Florida, including both the ARCA Menards Series and the ARCA Menards Series East. So we'll be talking about both of those events. We're also going to be talking about Jesse Love and all the success he's having down in Florida. And we have a really cool interview with Jesse Love tonight. So can't wait to share that with you guys as well. And a big hello to everybody that is tuning in here on the third episode of Blakesley Sports Media Live. And the first thing we're going to dive into is that big victory for Jesse Love this weekend at New Smyrna Speedway. His first super late model victory. And the folks at Wimmer Motorsports and at Bruce Nuttleman have put together a really cool video of the final couple of laps, the run to the finish, the spotter talking things over with his driver. And we're going to give you guys a peek at what it was like inside the driver's seat for Jesse Love picking up his win on Saturday.
Will be the control car, top lane. I just want you to think about your launch. There's going to be two to go here. The 12G will be on the bottom. Don't be in the jump, and then you stake your ground where you need to launch from, just like you did on the initial. Pace car lead, maintain pace. Maintain pace. It'll be slow, steady increase. When you get to the next white line, you can slow, steady increase it. Start slow, steady increase. Slow, steady increase. There you go. There you go. Green, green, green. Green, green. Oh, okay. Good corner here. Just within a half. He's way free. You're fine. Half. Half. Need a good corner here. Right to you. All good. Good exit. Good exit by one. One to go. Keep rolling it. Keep rolling by two. Coming to the checkers. Coming to the checkers here. Hell of a job, bud. Way to go. Awesome job. Good job, buddy.
So that's pretty cool, right? Awesome video footage there from Florida for Jesse Love. And we're going to debut a brand new segment here on Blakesley Sports Media Live here on episode number 3. And this is our Winner Circle segment. And we're going to run down all the big winners this weekend in short track racing. And we will start with none other than Jesse Love himself in the Winner Circle at New Smyrna in the super late model. Got the fast time on Saturday. Started second due to the invert. Swooped around the outside to take the lead and kind of had a dominant car for most of the main event. A late caution kind of tightened things up, and he was able to persevere, as you saw in that highlight video, and come on top with his first super late model victory for the two-time junior late model champion. And he comes into tonight fourth in the standings in the New Smyrna World Series for super late model racing. And he led practice against a 27-car field tonight that has drivers such as Steven Nassi and Ty Majeski. And that super late model race tonight, a 50-lapper, we expect to be going green just about right after we wrap up here on Blakesley Sports Media Live. Another big win this weekend was Michael Self picking up his second ARCA Menards Series Daytona victory to go with his 2018 win. And like ARCA at Daytona, there were a lot of caution flags in this race. And he held off Haley Deegan in her Daytona debut, coming home second. And I do believe that's going to be a precursor for the 2020 ARCA points battle. So great finish there for Michael Self. Then we move on to Monday night. Sam Mayer Sam Mayer picking up the victory out there at New Smyrna Speedway in the ARCA Menards Series East, the first race under the ARCA banner for the East Series. And it was a very highly competitive race. And he fended off a late charge from Derek Griffith, who was in his series debut driving a number 2 car for Chad Bryant Racing, a car that he had never even seen until it arrived at the track on Friday. And he had dominated that event for most of the race, and then had a pit violation that sent him to the back, came back through the field and ran second. So Sam Mayer, the champion of last year, picking up the win ahead of Derek Griffith. The big story was that big 3-wide wreck in turn 4. That involved Max McLaughlin and Tanner Gray. And we saw Tanner Gray climbing up on the fence, tearing down part of the fence in front of that big crowd at New Smyrna, Florida. Glad to see that everybody was okay. And after the red flag, Ty Gibbs rounded out the podium. And the ARCA East Series, they're going to be off until March the 14th. So they're going to be off for a little while, and we'll talk a little bit more about ARCA racing here in a little bit. And rounding out the winner's circle here on Blakesley Sports Media Live is Shane Golobic. Now, they only had 10 360s at the Stockton Dirt Track on Saturday, but a win is a win, and there were a lot of high-quality cars in the field with drivers like Ryan Robinson, Mitchell Facino, JJ Hickel, and Michael Facino. That was your top 5. And the drivers in the 360 world, they're going to get a week off this week. And then next week, there's going to be races both at King Speedway and at the Stockton Dirt Track. That's Saturday, February 22nd. And that'll be the first race for Peter Murphy to be the promoter at Hanford King Speedway. So really excited about that. And now we're going to take this opportunity to bring in our interview with Jesse Love, who picked up that big win at New Smyrna on Saturday and then competed in the ARCA Menards Series East race on Monday. And we're going to take a look at that right now. We're on the phone with Jesse Love, winner of Saturday night's super late model race at New Smyrna Speedway and 2-time 5150 junior late model champion. And Jesse, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you're driving for Wimmer Motorsports down there in the super late model portion of the World Series, and you picked up probably one of the biggest wins of your career on Saturday, and you had kind of a dominant car throughout the event as well. What does it mean to you to pick up this breakthrough super late model win?
Yeah, Christopher Motorsports has given me such an amazing car the whole time. Every time I hit the racetrack, we seem to get better in areas, and we seem to, and if we do struggle in a little bit of areas, Chris is able to turn us around and get us going in the right direction. So I'm really just grateful and fortunate to be in such a great car with such a great team. And if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be in the situation that I am in right now. So I can't thank them enough. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to hopefully carrying some momentum into tonight for the 50-lapper and hopefully picking up another win.
Well, there's 4 races to go, including tonight, and I looked at the points, and I think you're about 12 points out of first. So I got to think you're thinking your eyes are on the title, right?
Yeah, definitely. We had a troublesome first night, I guess you could say, and kind of set us back a little bit. So we're going to have to go into the next few nights, just, going in there with the mindset of just making sure that we can finish as high as we can, hopefully get some wins under our belt, a few more. And but I'm not looking at points right now. I actually don't even know what we are in points right now, because once you look at points, that's when you start messing up. So we're just going to hopefully keep on winning races, and the points will take care of themselves.
So on Monday night, you competed in your debut in the ARCA Menards Series East for Bill McAnally Racing, and you led the way for the 4 drivers. You ended up in 12th at the end of the event. I know that you've kind of jumped into the deep end before, going into SRL and Power I last year was a pretty big leap. But how do you describe the competition level and the challenges that you faced on Monday in the East Series?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough series, and there's a lot of really good guys, a lot of really, really good teams. And it's definitely really competitive, one of the more competitive series that I've been in. But, we started off really well, pretty strong. I think we had about 5th in practice, and then qualifying, we went out and had some speedy dry on the racetrack. Somebody oiled down the racetrack before we went out. So just kind of made for a rough qualifying for everybody after the speed drive. But, we started I think we started about 14th in the feature, and we just missed it a little bit, kind of missed our package. But I'm really confident in this BMR team to be able, and I think we'll be able to, turn ourselves around and get in the right direction. I'm really confident in the team and my crew chief, Kyle Walezik, and I think that in the next race coming up here in Vegas, that we'll be in contention for the win. There's no doubt in my mind I think we can win that thing.
Well, that was the first race for the East Series and the West Series under the ARCA banner. And we saw a lot of ARCA teams in that field with the number 2 car from CBR, Venturini cars. How do you think racing in that high level of competition maybe has helped you get more prepared for the West Series?
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you're racing against, teams that, obviously just like the BMR team, they know what they're doing, and they've been in these situations before. Most of them guys, most of the teams have been at New Smyrna before, and so everybody's good, everybody's fast, and everybody knows what they're doing. So it made for a really, tough race, a really hard race, and a lot of hard racing. I think every lap, everybody was pushing their car, and maybe not burn the tires off of it, but I feel like most of the race, everybody was doing what they need to do for the last 25, 50 laps. So I think it's helped me as a driver a ton for the upcoming first West race in Las Vegas, and I feel really prepared, more prepared than I think I would have been if we didn't do it. So I'm really grateful for Bill McIntyre Racing and letting us go out there and be able to run that New Smyrna race. And I feel like we are more prepared because of it. So I'm looking forward to Vegas, and I think we can definitely go win that thing.
Well, and the cool thing this year on your West Series program is you've been to a couple of these tracks, of course, Vegas, Irwindale, Kern County, Roseville. So that kind of helps you a little bit with that transition, right?
Yeah, definitely. Going to tracks like New Smyrna for the first time was definitely kind of hard. New Smyrna is one of those places where it's really different than a lot of racetracks. A lot of cool secrets that you can learn, and going to most of the West race tracks, it's kind of the same thing. A lot of tracks on the West Coast are pretty technical. You got to really drive them pretty different than most other race tracks. So I've been really grateful to be able to run a lot of different cars for a lot of different teams, for a lot of different car owners and people over the last few years. So I'm really grateful for those opportunities, and I think it's going to make for a really successful first year at Bill McIntyre Racing.
Well, you got 5 cars in the BMR stable. It sounds like Jack Wood's going to be racing on the West Series. You got a pair of Sunrise Ford cars as well. What would you say your goals and expectations are inside of that really tough field? What would you say is your goal for 2020?
Yeah, I don't think that we should, be shooting for anything less than a championship and a bunch of wins. And I think that we can definitely do that. I'm really confident in my Bill McIntyre Racing team, and there's no doubt in my mind that we can go out there and compete for wins and win a lot of races and win the championship at the end of the day.
Well, we're on the phone with Jesse Love, who picked up his super late model debut victory on Saturday at New Smyrna Speedway in Florida with 4 nights to go in the World Series. And kind of switching gears from the pavement stuff with the ARCA program, I was really curious. You guys have all these dirt sprint car races and midget races, and you're traveling all the time. You've got schoolwork to balance. How do you balance everything you have going on and making those transitions all the time from being a student to a dirt racer to a pavement racer? How do you do it?
Yeah, it's definitely really tough. And going into, this season, we've got a lot of different stuff going on. We got about 50 sprint car races or so, about 25, 30 midget shows on USAC and Power National League for Keith Coons Motorsports. And as well as, going into this year with Bill McIntyre Racing as well, there's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different moving pieces. So the biggest thing is just making sure that I'm on top of my game and I put in all the work that needs to be done. And I make sure that as far as I go, that I'm, the most prepared, Jesse Love that I can be. So I feel like that's a really important part of it. And, I've always wanted to be, one of those guys like, kind of like Tony Stewart, AJ Foyt, guys like that can get to any car anytime and be a threat to win. So I really enjoy being able to run a bunch of different race cars. I've been really really lucky. Sorry, I've been really lucky, and I'm really grateful for all the opportunities that have been bestowed upon me.
So, of course, one of the things that really shaped your career was your time in the 5150 Junior Late Model Series, and that form of racing is really exploding, in my opinion, largely off the back of the success that you had and that Haley Deegan has had. How impactful has that program been for your career, and how impactful do you think that program is going to be for the future of motorsports?
Yeah, it's helped me out a ton. And when I first started off in full-size, full-body stock cars, full-size stock cars, it was a big transition. I kind of came out of quarter midgets and, speed 2 midgets, which is way different. They're all open-wheel. They're a lot smaller than a full-size stock car. So I was really grateful to be able to run with Mike Nake and Nate Clark Motorsports with 5150 on the hood and get a lot of laps and learn a lot of different stuff. And that was the biggest thing, is just being able to learn, a ton of different lessons before you go into a super late model, a pro late model, something like that, or a limited late model, whatever you want to call it, in a higher series. It's really important to learn as much as you can. So that's why I feel like the Junior Late Model Series provides a lot of benefit for young drivers getting into full-size stock cars, just because you're able to learn at such a higher pace. You're able to learn with people your own age, and it definitely helps the learning process a ton. And I was really grateful to have the opportunity to do it.
Okay, a couple of fun questions here before we wrap up. So you're getting to travel all the time, all across the country. Tell us what's some of the best places you've gotten to go as a result of racing. I got to think getting to go to Florida is pretty cool. What are some of the cool experiences you've gotten to have as a result of racing?
Yeah, obviously, I really enjoy visiting Victory Lane here in Florida. So that's one of them.
Good answer.
That's always a fun place to go. And, places like Florida, I love places like, by the beach and things like that. And, I always love going to midget races in the Midwest with Keith Kuhn's Motorsports. It's always fun and it's always a good time. So, I love California, and there really is no bad racetrack. So, I really like a bunch of different racetracks like Ventura Raceway by the beach, or a place like Jacksonville in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, or place like Florida, right? Everybody knows what it is, New Smyrna Speedway, right next to Daytona. So I've been really, grateful to be able to travel as much as I have been, and win races along the way. And I'm looking forward to expanding my my resume and my traveling book, I guess you could say, going into this year.
What's the best food that you've discovered in all your travels?
That's a tough one. Other than Taco Bell, probably
something you can't find here in California. How about that? What's something we don't know about out here that you've discovered?
Cheese curds.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I've been racing with this Wisconsin team out of Women Motorsports out of Wisconsin, and they're pretty big on cheese curds over in Wisconsin. So I tried one when I was here in Florida. I forgot what the place is called, but I went and tried some, and they're pretty good. So definitely one of those things I think that everybody should go try.
All right, last question for you, Jesse Love. Thanks for coming on the show. So since you're becoming such a great traveler, and we have a lot of young drivers that tune into this show and would like to get to the level that you're at, traveling across the country, racing for lots of different car owners, what are some pieces of advice you can give these young drivers for how to stay physically prepared and on top of your game with all the racing that you're doing?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing to racing, and like most things in life, is just putting in the work. Obviously there's a big mental aspect in racing, and I feel like the most important part of that is just knowing that you're the most prepared driver there. And as far as being the most prepared driver at the racetrack, it's just putting in the work and making sure that nobody's going to outwork you, because the second that somebody starts outworking you is when you're going to stop winning. So if there's anything that you guys think that you can put work into, it's just put as much effort and as much work that you can into what you're doing, and that's what's going to make the difference at the end of the day, is just putting in the work and making the effort every single day when you get out of bed. And I feel like that goes a really, really, really long way in racing, and I feel like that's probably the best piece of advice that I can give a young driver coming up.
Well, Jesse Love's going to be racing the rest of the week in New Smyrna on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold in the super late model. And, of course, the entire 2020 ARCA Menards Series West for Bill McAnally Racing, also on Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold. And we'll be keeping an eye on you, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the show.
You may have seen we popped up a poll, and if you're watching this live on your phone, there's a little, what looks like almost like a Wi-Fi button down in the bottom. You can click that and it'll put the poll up on the screen. And what we want to know is who you guys think is going to win the 2020 ARCA Menards Series West title. And it only gives you 4 options. So I decided to put 8 different drivers and kind of make some pairings. So we have a BMR pairing, a Sunrise Ford pairing, another BMR pairing, and then a pairing that's got a BMR car, and then it's also got Jack Wood, who may or may not run the entire season for the ARCA Menards West. And you guys, give us your thoughts. Who you guys think is going to come out on top in 2020 in the West Series? That's what I want to know. So you can click on that poll. And like I said, the series gets started next week from the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we've been putting together what I'm going to call a season preview episode. And that's going to be next week. We're going to have a couple guests for that. And this is going to be one of the largest fields of full-time drivers in quite a while. It sounds like there will be anywhere from about 12 to 14 full-time drivers. And we'll find out more come Tuesday with the entry list and things like that. And then there's going to be a big super late model race that same night that is going to include some drivers like Kyle Busch. His protege, Sammy Smith, is going to come out with him. Brittany Zamora from Washington. So that's going to be a really cool race. Dylan Lupton is going to be in that event. So really looking forward to that one coming up next week as well. So as we wrap up our program, just a couple of, I always take the time near the end of the program. If it's your first time tuning in to Blakesley Sports Media Live, I want to thank you for tuning in. I always take some time at the end of the show to give you a little bit of my opinion on things in the racing world. And I'll try not to name names and more just kind of give you my observations and what I'm seeing taking place. And the thing that I want to talk about this week on BSM Live is I want to talk about how your family, your team, and your race fans represent you as a driver. And one of the things that we always bring up when drivers are coming up through the lower levels, the entry-level classes at a short track, is we try to emphasize that you are responsible for the way that your crew members conduct themselves in the pits. If they're wearing your car number and they do something wrong, everybody involved is going to feel the brunt of what happens. And I've noticed a couple of teams and families, and I'm not going to name names today, just kind of an example. There's a lot of teams and families that are having this issue, but there's a couple that I've noticed that aren't really handling bad news very well on the internet. And I think if you feel like you've been snubbed from something that you deserve, the best way to prove it is to get out onto the racetrack or find the sponsorship and prove it. I don't necessarily believe that posting publicly on social media about your feelings towards fellow competitors, fellow race teams, about the hardships that you're facing is going to get you very far. If anything, it almost kind of reinforces to some people that maybe they made the right decision and maybe your whole program might be a little bit going in the wrong direction. Maybe it's a little bit toxic. And so you want to try to portray yourself publicly in a positive way and let the racing do the talking. I think public comments on Facebook and other social media platforms are not going to advance your cause very well. And I've just noticed a couple of teams in the last couple of months, some West Coast related things, some of them not West Coast related, where commentary from friends and family and sponsors can really drag down your reputation. Especially some of the drivers I'm talking about are very clean and professional drivers, both on and off the racetrack, and the way their families are acting is a little bit unbecoming and slightly embarrassing for what that's going to do to their reputation. So that's just kind of my take on something that I've been seeing and a little piece of advice for some of you guys out there. So we'll take this opportunity as we wrap up. Want to thank everybody for tuning in here to Blakesley Sports Media Live. And I see Jaden Walbridge is wanting to know who we've got for the Madera Championship. Well, that is a loaded question because that is going to be a good series. Really quickly, I'll tell you that we heard today from Mike Nake that we're expecting to see the Beast, Joey East, at all the 2020 Pro Late Model races at Madera. We weren't sure if they were going to focus on the SRL or ARCA or what they were going to do, but they are going to be at every event. And you marry that with Jeremy Doss, Matt Erickson, Racing Jason Aguirre, Buddy Shepard, Austin Herzog, and the guns are loaded. There is a lot of talent at Madera this year for that Pro Late Model title. I haven't heard if Julesen is going to run as a junior late model or a pro late model. I think there's still TBA on that, but that would be a strong contender as well. So you're loading up for about 7 or 8 very, very good cars at Madera this year. So I thank you, Jaden, for tuning in. And for that question, I think you're probably someone we're going to be keeping an eye on as well throughout the season. So good luck to you and let us know what your plans are for 2020. Maybe we'll get you here on the program. So as we start to wrap up this evening, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I want to give a big shout out to all of the live streaming platforms out there like Flow Racing and Dirt Vision and Track Pass. It's been like a buffet of racing. This weekend was so fun getting to see USAC and All-Stars and, and Lucas Oil dirt late models and everything at New Smyrna and the ARCA stuff on TV from Daytona and Supercross, NHRA, and it feels like this is like the best time ever to be a race fan. And most of these packages are so affordable, and it's just been really cool to have that. And I am just totally race crazy right now and really excited to see all the coverage the rest of the week. So a reminder this week, the rest of the week, we're going to have NBCSN televising the East race from New Smyrna on Valentine's Day. So if you missed the race, you can tune in on Friday and see that. And the rest of the week, we're locked and loaded with Track Pass from New Smyrna. In fact, the super late models featuring our guest, Jesse Love, are coming up in just a little bit after the Tour Modified race. So you might want to tune in to Track Pass on NBC Sports Gold for that. And we're going to have USAC stuff going on Flow Sports this weekend. So all kinds of great racing going on. And I hope you guys can tune into that. So once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to episode number 3 of Blakesley Sports Media Live. Next Tuesday, our big ARCA Menards Series West 2020 preview. And of course, next weekend is also the big season opener in California for 360 sprint cars with Stockton and Hanford. So it really gets going next week here in California on both the northern and southern parts of the state. So once again, on behalf of everybody here at Blakesley Sports Media, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you at the races.